Hi everyone, Erica here with Fibersandfloss Canada. Welcome back to my channel. This is a channel all about cross stitch as well as some dabbling with other crafts, knitting, quilting, sewing, whatever I feel like doing at the time. So this week for you, I largely have a lot of cross stitch and one knit project for you. I've been participating in Mania 500 with Andrew, the runner stitcher. The idea behind this one is that we use a like a random, I don't know what you call it. It's called Tiny Decisions app, and it's like a random selector, and we load all of our whips into that, and then from there you will draw a whip to work on, and you need to log 500 stitches. When you're done that 500, you go back to the wheel, you spin it again, and you choose the next project. And the idea is just to see how many projects you can get through in the month of May, how many stitches you can log in. That fits really well for me because my goal this year is to work on as many whips as I can and really log some good progress on them. I'm really struggling wanting to start all of the new things, but I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant in starting new projects until I'm able to wrap up some of my whips. That being said, I have a few that are just, they're just there waiting in the wings for me to start them, and it's a real struggle not to. Anyways, let's just dive right in. So last time I spoke with you guys, it was May the 6th, and on May the 6th, I spun my wheel, and the first thing that had come up was Spirit of Christmas. And so this design here is a like a Christmas ornament, and it's a paper one that stands up, and it's stitched on perforated paper, and you have the option to either stitch it as a flat piece or a 3D standing piece, and I'm doing the 3D piece. Beck stitches everything. Rebecca, she is stitching this as well. She's a little bit ahead of me, so it's really interesting to, you know, when you're a floss tuber, to see another floss tuber working on the same project, and it can also be motivating to get going on that, right? So yeah, I'm gonna flip the camera around. I'm gonna show you what I was able to accomplish on May the 6th. This is where I was at last time I was working on Spirit of Christmas. I was able to complete the girl, and this time I was able to log another, let's see, I wrote it down for you guys, 540 stitches, and that all went into starting the wings. And so you can see here, this is 540 stitches, not counting the red work. I don't know, I say red work, but is it called red work? It's similar to black work in the sense where you're using like a double running stitch, you're working in one direction, working your boxes, and you're coming back. These will end up creating the wings of the angel, and if we look at the pattern here, we can see that this first wing here has a bit of a poinsettia in it, and there's some beads that will be done there as well. And then the second wing does have a bird. There's a lot of stitching in this one, you know. When I originally thought, oh, I can just stitch this angel last winter, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's actually a lot of stitching, and it's something I'm really enjoying though, and I'm actually really enjoying stitching the red on top of the white. Something about it is just, it's beautiful. I don't know, very traditional feeling, you know? So very, very happy with that so far. I'm almost done that first wing. There's probably about another 150 stitches or so. I actually didn't even complete my last 4 stitches because at that point I just need to move on. All right, let's see what my next project was. This next design is exciting for me to work on. This is Lamigan Pot 1852. It's a sampler from Drenthe, which is in the Netherlands. And this sampler is by Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery, and it was previously an exclusive to a little shop in Holland. However, it is now widely available for purchase on his website, and I'm not sure if Evertotes is carrying it quite yet as well, but there is the paper copy out there for everybody. So this particular project, it is stitched on 40 count vintage country mocha with swaddle. Now I was able to log 528 stitches. So this is where I was able to get to. what I was able to stitch this time was the belly of the boat. So I am almost done, right? I wonder if I can kind of leave this on the side here for you guys to reference. I'm almost done this cross stitch. You know, when I take a look at it, it's a little bit sad for me because I've enjoyed the colors. I've really enjoyed working the sampler motifs. You know, the swaddle, beautiful smooth silk to work with, just glides through your fabric beautifully. And you know, I appreciate being able to work one motif at a time. I feel like I have a sense of accomplishment and a finish, and then put it away. So while I did 540 stitches here, and I thought about just finishing the bottom of the boat, you know, there's not that many more, about another 200 stitches or so. I did decide to tuck it away, and the reason being is I'm finding with the Mania 500, I'm kind of panicking a little bit because I feel like, oh, it's fun to go through these and do 500, 500, 500, but I still have my chatelaine in the background, my beloved in the background, my garden club series in the background. And so I have this sense of like, it's fun to log the 500 stitches, but as soon as I hit that 500, I need to move on because I also am trying to work on these, like these 3 baseline projects every day, right? So yeah, but I'm really enjoying this. I highly recommend this project. And I mean, there is a DMC conversion for it if people are, actually I think it was charted in DMC, and the conversion options are swaddle, and then I think there may be another option as well, but really fun. I think that, I think it's Laura of Brenda and Laura, the serial starter. I think she started this one too, and Carmen of Cardamom Pins has finished this one as well. I do plan on finishing this one with a hem stitch. I did talk about that a little while ago because I did finish a project with the hem stitch for the first time ever, and it was a very, very fine, like small amount of fabric I had, but this amount of fabric will allow me to do quite a nice hem stitch on it, so I'm excited to wrap it up. This is funny for me. So it's May the 8th, and for today I have spun One Starry Christmas Eve by Brenda Gervais. And the funny bit for me is that I just worked on this project. It was what I chose to work on for April 25th, but I'm glad it was chosen again because I really didn't feel quite ready to tuck it away, but I did because I'm close to a finish and I don't really want to finish my Christmas project in, you know, April, so I tucked it away. I'm happy to say that I was able to log some more stitches. So for this one here, I logged exactly 500 stitches, and what I was able to do was complete the border in black, and then I was able to stitch the first reindeer and the start of the second reindeer, and I happened to run on a thread right on stitch number 500, which was just perfect. I've talked about this one, I think it was in my last Flosstube actually, or maybe the one prior, so I'm not going to go too into depth with it, but I will tell you it's stitched on 36 count Aztec Red by Weeks Dye Works, and I purchased that at the Kitten Stitcher, and I think she has more of it right now because someone else messaged me saying that they really, really like the color, and they were going to go ahead and purchase it. And I do have to say this color is a pretty good representation of the true color. It's very vibrant, and the colors just seem like this black on here just pops right off of it. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love it. The next thing I need to think about is how I plan on finishing this because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Yeah, I really don't know. I have to think about that. But if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I'm not really into like a, you know, a country aesthetic in my home, so this sort of finishing doesn't really work for me, but I do want to finish it in a fun way that I can display for Christmas. So any ideas, put it in the comments below, let me know. This is being stitched with only 3 of the called for colors, otherwise everything else is a mix mash of what I have from stash, from silks to DMC to Owl Forest embroidery thread. Yeah, but it's been a fun one for me for sure. So let's spin that wheel and see what the next project was that I selected. All right, you guys, I'm dying here. What is going on? This is another Christmas cross stitch. It's May. I don't know. I kind of thought about respinning the wheel, but I felt like that's cheating, so I didn't. So I did go ahead, and the project that was called was Little House Needleworks Kringles. And Kringles is a project that I've worked on recently for the 25th of the month of stitching. And this is stitched on 30 count Parisian Gray by Access Commodities using DMC as well as Classic Colorworks, and one metallic from Avlea Kits. So this is a number 4. So what I was able to do this time is I was able to log a total of actually 768 stitches. And the reason why I went over was because I wanted to complete this portion of the black. So yeah, you know, my idea is since Christmas, I was able to complete these boxes, this box, and then there's one more shop box, and then a big door. So what I would like to do is complete the frame of the building, and then from there be able to fill in the buildings. And I plan on working on this a lot in July, for Christmas in July, in an effort to finish it this year. Another one that is a lovely stitcher that's just worked on this and I believe finished it. Oh my goodness, I can picture her in Leanne, 6-pack stitches. I was thinking I can picture her, but I couldn't think of her name. Yeah, she's finished it and it's beautiful. So this has been a really fun stitch. You know, if you like to stitch houses and you like to do that, like that brick and mortar, getting a good roof in, this is a lovely project to work on. And then of course you get the extra detail with what is in the department store windows. I'm really looking forward to stitching this door. I think that will be fun. And the only change I'm thinking about making is I had originally thought that this Kringles was stitched in the Avlea Kits, but it's not. It's actually just DMC. And I'm debating of actually, and the kick plates here, stitching it so it looks like it's a little bit of a brass appearance. And I think I probably will end up doing that. It's just a matter of choosing, you know, if I'm running a blending filament with that DMC. I probably won't do solid gold, but I'm not sure yet. And that's the reason why I chose not to fill in the letters for this 500. I thought I'm going to do the frame instead. So this was a really, really fun project to work on. I do look forward to working on it again in a couple months. I want to log the frame here for July for sure, because there's a lot of stitching between the steps, the doors, the overhead sign. That's a lot of stitching, and then it would be awesome if I can get that frame too, and then that way I just have to fill it in. So hopefully I can finish that this year. That will be my goal. All right, so those were my additional Mania 500 stitches so far for the first half of May 2025. I have to say, so far I'm enjoying it. Part of me really wishes I wasn't working on my 3 baseline projects so that I could really just bang out all my 500 projects. And if I could do that, I think I could probably touch every project that I have. But I've set some pretty lofty goals that I'm working really hard to stay on top of. So I'm going to dive into my next 3 projects that I work on every month. And before I do that, I just want to touch base real quick with 2 community events. So the first one is Stitchers at the Library, and that's coming up on May the 24th from 10:30 to 1:30. I'll put the poster here for you guys. And then the second one as well is Knots and Hops Valley. And that one is at the Barley Merchant on the 28th of May from 6 to 8 p.m. And that one, of course, it, you know, primarily has started off as knitting and crocheting. And now they've added and crafts. So definitely, you know, if you're a cross stitcher and you want to show up, just show up. It's great. You know, there's a lot of other people that are there. There's other cross stitchers that you'll recognize as well from Flosstube. And it's a really great time to be had. So highly encourage attending either of those if you are local to the Lower Mainland. All right, so the next thing was my Blackbird Designs Garden Club series. I should be on number 5. However, I placed an order with traditional stitches and it hasn't arrived yet. It is scheduled to be here in 2 days' time. So I went ahead and I started number 6 instead of number 5. And so that is Tulip and Lily. And this one I'm excited for because of the colors. You know, I'm all about the colors, right? And just looking at this with the pink and the blue, I think it's going to be a really great one to stitch. Once this order comes in, I was hoping it'd be here already because I wanted to show you guys satin stitches. And because it hasn't arrived yet, that's going to be on my next video. So I apologize if you're here looking for that. About 2 weeks time and you'll see that. So right now, let's flip over and let's look at my final 3 cross-stitching projects. All right, so for this project, I was only able to work on it a little bit for 2 days. I was able to log 334 stitches. So the first evening I stitched the border and the bird, and then last night I stitched this little bit of the tulip. I think this is going to be gorgeous. There's a nice big tulip here as well as some lilies. And I think, you know, the colors are coming out really well. I love seeing this color here, this chamomile color. The threads I'm using are Gentle Art. They're all the called for colors. And I am stitching it on the 32 count Cappuccino by Leeks. I was thinking Cappuccino Linen by Weeks Dye Works is what I was trying to say. And actually this color is really, really beautiful. So even though, you know, camera, you never get as good of colors you do in person, but in person it almost has a really like creamy, almost a hint of, I want to say orange undertone to it, like a pinky orange. It's a beautiful color. And while I've been working on this, I thought to myself, I think on the next time I place an order, I'll probably order like a half yard of this just to have, because I think this is actually a really beautiful warm color to use for a sampler. Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely color. I'll see if I can insert a picture here too, maybe just showing the true color of it, but I highly recommend this linen. It's gorgeous. I do end up, my plan is to go ahead and to assemble these in something similar to what you're seeing here. I wonder if I can hold it so you don't get the glare. There you go. Where you end up stitching these pieces together. However, these are stitched in order. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit. The Kindred Stitcher, she finished hers. And instead of it being in this perfect grid pattern, she split it up. So, you know, here it was this one here, but this one she took onto the other side just to create that positioning of being moved over half a block. And then same with this one here where she split up the fabrics. They are 2 different fabrics, same with this one. And then she was able to adjust the height as well by offsetting one by half a block. And it looks really, really good. So that's my plan. Once, you know, I think I get the first 6 finished, I will be able to start assembling those. And I will film a tutorial on how to sew your linen together using a running stitch and then doubling back with that. I do know that when I attach my 2 linens for Inspired by Nature by Quaint Rose Needle Arts, that is definitely a void in the Flosstube world for sure in terms of tutorials. So yeah, I will be filming that for sure. Now, my next project we're going to look at will be Beloved. This project is Beloved by Running with Needles and Scissors. It's a really fun project, and I was first inspired to start it by Kim, Contented Needleworker Kim, and she has actually now completed the entire piece. I have decided to stitch only the birds, and I like to frame them in a nice like gold vintage frame. And my plan is to complete this, I started the first day of spring, and to complete it by the first day of summer of this year. So this is where I've gotten to so far. Now, this has been a fun project, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of, I don't want to say confetti stitching because it's not confetti, but there is no block stitching in here whatsoever. So if you are a block stitcher, just be aware of that for sure. Now, what I was able to do the first month was stitch this bird here and these two leaves. For the second month, I was able to log here, this in the beginning of the second month, as well as I've just completed down here. And then for the next month, I have to do the bird and this little cluster of flowers up here. And I actually still have another week before the second month of spring is over. And so I'm hoping to get a start on some of these flowers up here. I think, you know, the birds, this bird had a lot of confetti stitching. When I stitched that, I was like, listen, I can't watch Flosstube. No one can talk to me. I'm gonna mess up the bird. And it took all my concentration for I think about 2 days to stitch that bird. And it was funny because I had posted it and the designer of Running with Needles and Scissors was like, I promise you, the other bird is much easier. And so I hope it is, but if not, you know, I want to allow that whole month to get that bird in and hopefully just wrap this up. I hope to really just stitch as much of this as I can in the next week or so. So we'll see where we're at. This is being stitched on a 40 count brick powder by XJU Designs. You know, I love it. It's beautiful. And I do think that, you know, the overhead light here, as opposed to holding up the project, I am getting a bit of a better representation of the fabric. You know, when I hold it up, it definitely looks white, but here you can see it's a little bit pink. I may insert a photo if I can get a better photo of it, and yeah, just to represent that color. But this fabric is beautiful, and I like to stitch a sampler on it. I did purchase, I think it was half a yard, not a full yard. I got a good size cut of it anyways, and I have enough that I can definitely stitch a sampler for sure. So I'm looking forward to that. Look at my chatelaine, you guys. Oh my gosh. So this is the final project I was able to work on during this last 2 weeks. And I was able to keep up with my goals so far. So I'll remind you that my goal this month was to stitch all 4 of these frames. And I'm halfway through the month and I've fully completed 2. Now this is Chatelaine Designs. It is Holland Springtime Garden Mandala, and I am using the called for everything, right from the 32 count White Lugana by Zweigart and all the called for beads, silks, you name it. Now, I have to share a funny story with you guys. I had last time completed the inside here and these 4 tulips. And at that point, I thought, oh, great, I can work on this. It was in my frame. And I thought, because the mandala is done, and I don't know why I thought this. I mean, if you think about it for 2 seconds, you know this is not true. But for whatever reason, that evening I thought, once the mandala is done, since it's symmetrical on all 4 sides, it doesn't matter. The orientation of these stitches doesn't matter. I don't know why. I don't know. I have no idea why the hell I thought that. It doesn't even make sense. We know that is not true because even though the design is symmetrical, the top leg of all of these crosses is currently leaning this direction. And I don't know why. I had it in my frame and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna stitch this. And I was sitting here and I was working like this was the top of my fabric, although this is the top of my fabric. And so I ended up with all of these stitches here. The leg of it is all going like this direction on the top instead of this direction. And so I was really mad about that. So I thought, oh, I'm not even going to pick it out. I'm just going to leave it in there and take a day. And I've actually still left it in here because I wanted to make sure I didn't have this, you know, brain fart while I'm working the other quadrant. So I've left it for now. And I went ahead and I did this quadrant and then I did that quadrant there. And it is a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do here is zoom in just so you guys can have a really good look at one of those quadrants. All right, so yeah, this is really, this is what I think of when I think of a chatelaine, is stitching something like this. There's only two types of specialty stitches here. I am using multiple different types of materials. So I am using silk and I am also using petite treasure braid. All of the silks I'm using, one of them was not variegated, but most of them are variegated that I'm using here. And yeah, let's zoom in and have an even closer look at it. All right, this is the point where a pointer tool would be helpful, but I don't have one. So what I was able to do here are these stitches here are all what we call rice stitches. You know, and I'm new to some of these stitches, so I wonder if there's different levels of like density for rice stitches, if you will. In the design, she does just say that these are rice stitches. However, I have stitched a rice stitch before, and it's not as dense as this, so I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something I probably should have looked into before I shared this. But I have to say, it was really, really fun to do them. You know, it does take a little bit more time than just to cross stitch what would be 9 stitches in each one of the blocks. But it's something that I've really enjoyed working on. Just logging those stitches have been a lot of fun. I wanted to bring it closer to the camera for you guys to see better. But it's under my hand and I'm shaking a little bit. So here you can see corner to corner from all 4 points. You do one giant cross stitch and that kind of lays in the background in the belly of the stitch there. And then you end up stitching one corner at a time, kind of going diagonally across each one of those legs of the cross stitch. And that's the rice stitch. It's super simple, but it gives a really nice layered textured look. And because this is done with variegated floss, you can see the one there that's kind of bright blue and a darker blue. Gives a bit of a different look to it as opposed to the solid ones. The next embroidered cross stitch is the Rhodes stitch. And the Rhodes stitch is seen in each of these little spaces here. And what makes this look so beautiful is you'll notice that the Rhodes stitch, if you look here, it's almost like a bluey turquoise. And if you look down to where, oh, my camera cuts off, but it gets to a nice purple in here. So you're seeing a variegated line of Rhodes stitches, but then between them as well, not only that, is another floss that's also variegated. That also happens to go from like a nice brighter purple to a bit of a darker, like a darker mauve almost there. And just the combination between that and then having some rainbow gallery in between there, which is the little shiny bits. And then the classic color works, having this cucumber color, the green variegated border. It gives it so much dimension when you're looking at it. Your eye doesn't know where to stop, which I don't know if necessarily is a good thing or not. But you know, as someone looking at a piece of work and appreciating it, it's definitely something that I think once you frame a chatelaine, you could just end up standing there staring at it and losing, you know, if you hang it in your foyer, you lose your guests in the foyer for sure for a bit. They just linger over it, having a good look at it. Yeah, but I've really enjoyed stitching this so far. I'm super excited to get into, I'm just gonna try and zoom out a little bit for you guys. And maybe raise the camera a little bit. Ooh, look at me. Okay. I'm super excited to get into some of these, like the actual scenes. I think will be a lot of fun to stitch. And so that will be next month. So I'm actually ordering my final installment of the MPI silks. Gosh, I think this kit takes like 40 MPI silks. And so once I have that, I will be off to the races. But I mean, this shouldn't fool you. There is still a ton of work to be done on this project. Even once you have these 4 frames done, there's still a ton of work that gets stitched in here. So you're going to be, let me see, how can I move this so you guys can see a little bit better maybe. Okay, so from this point here to this point, there's a little bit more of a space, and then it comes all the way across like this. So this whole area will still be filled in with I think there's some bunch of Delft tiles in there and other stitches. Like there's a lot more to be had. And then even on the outside of all of these frames, like I think it's this one here, it has like a tulip garden that's coming and growing up and out of it. So there's a lot of stitching still, but it's gonna be really good. I'm definitely enjoying it so far. Now, don't go anywhere because I have another project I wanna show you guys. All right, so I wanted to do a recap on how many stitches I've logged so far this month, because I don't normally count stitches, but I am because of Mania 500. So even though, you know, you may think, oh, you didn't do very many stitches for Mania 500, I logged a lot of stitches on my chatelaine, as well as Beloved, and just a little bit on the Garden Club series. So I can tell you that with my chatelaine, I logged, well, it's up for debate because I have 2,400 stitches that are staying in that project, and about another 300 stitches I have to rip out of the project. So do what you will with that number. And then also with my Beloved, I was able to log 1,387 stitches. So, you know, when you add all of that up, that's over 4,000 stitches just on those 2 projects in the last 2 weeks. So that's a lot of my stitching time. And then with my Garden Club series, I didn't log much. It was 334 stitches. So altogether, my cross stitch totals, my total number of stitches so far in the month of May, I have 8,028 stitches. And over half of that has been from my baseline projects. And I should say even more of that's from my baseline projects because that's not including what I stitched from May 1st to May 6th. And then, in addition to that, I have logged a ton of time on my shawl, my Go Dynamo Shawl. It's almost done. And so, out of curiosity, I was like, how many stitches am I knitting here? And I have logged just shy of 20,000 knit stitches, which sounds really impressive. But then, you know, as I'm knitting, when you're knitting 20,000 stitches, you may have a moment to calculate some stuff in your head. And I figure, you know, it's about 1/5, you would do about 5 to 7 stitches per cross stitch. So really, if you were to take that 20,000 stitches and divide that by, you know, a range of 5 to 7, you're looking at about, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 knit, which would be equivalent to cross stitches. And so that's a lot of stitches, and that's been a priority piece for me. So I'm spending about almost half of my time in a week on my knitted shawl, and I'm going to share that with you guys. But first, I want to wrap up all my cross stitch thoughts because I've got some interesting things and just thoughts to share with you. I have been watching a lot of Flosstube in the last couple of weeks, and there are 3 videos that I want to point out to you guys. So I think a lot of you guys already follow Katie Strachan, and she is releasing the Brittle Mart sampler, and that is being released on the 20th of May, which I'm hoping to upload this on the 20th of May. And I'll put some pictures in here because she's done a Flosstube recently talking about this sampler that will be up for sale, as well as a class you can register for as well. Now, this sampler is really cool because it is reversible, and you know, it of course is gorgeous, and it's full of specialty stitches. And I'm going to order it. I mean, as long as it's not like $500, I'm ordering it. I have talked to Andrew, the runner stitcher too, and he's thinking he's gonna give it a go. And also another stitcher local to me, her name is Linda, she's going to order it as well. So if you guys want to stitch this with us, let me know, comment below. I think it'll be a really fun one, especially if you're like an experienced stitcher and you're looking for just an added challenge of some sort. I think it'll be great. And you know, Katie is awesome. Any of her videos, she gives such good detailed instructions. I think that, you know, her class, I'm excited for it. I think will be really, really well executed. And there's not a doubt in my mind that there'll be a point where you're thinking, I can't really do this. I think it's going to be just great. She also released another video this week to help people decide whether or not you want to stitch that reversibly. And so reversible cross stitch is quite interesting. I've done a little bit myself. Nicola Parkman did a free workshop, and what I've done on that so far, I did in reversible stitch. And I was able to teach that to myself because I have this book. It's called The Proper Stitch, and it's by Darlene Osteen. And Katie Strachan actually talked about this in her last video. This is an excellent book. It is full of like amazing different types of cross stitch, really clear, good diagrams in it, and I highly, highly recommend the book. And it teaches 3 different ways to do reversible cross stitch as well. And I found the instructions very, very easy to follow. You know, I've never done reversible cross stitch, and it was a lot of fun, albeit it's time consuming. I feel like it takes more floss, but I watched the little quick tutorial Katie Strachan gave this week, and she says it takes less floss. So I don't know if that was just, I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I have to actually sit down and think about it. But when I think about the stitch path, to me, I think there's extra, you're stitching over 2 times more out of all your stitches. So I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit before I speak about it. But anyways, I wanted to recommend this book. So this book's actually out of print. However, you can find it on the secondhand market for about $30, or you can go to Annie's Cross Stitch, and they actually still have hard copies, and they have a PDF version as well, which I think is excellent to have. And I bought this one from Annie's, and it was $20 US. So highly recommend this book. Definitely something you should get, especially if you're thinking about stitching the Brittle Mart sampler. And it's just a great resource to have, right? So I wanted to make that recommendation. The next one I want to talk about is Krista West. So I don't know if you guys know who Krista West is. She is the owner and designer of Avlea Folk Embroidery. She's amazing. So she just released a floss tube. I'm going to, all these ones I'm talking about, all 3 of these Flosstubers, I'll link them below for you. She was kind of, you know, just feeling not inspired, not enthusiastic. She noticed her sales have been down 30% with everything happening in the last few months. She was feeling like, what am I doing here with my life? Like, is this sustainable? And then she went to the H&H Americas, like the big industrial wholesale craft show in the States. And She said it was amazing. 5,000 people there, and they were all there for the love of crafting. So it was everything from like like sewing machines to handcrafts, table crafts. There were fabric designers. There was the whole 9 yards was there. And she set up her booth. And if you guys have not been to her website, you need to go, because everything is so bright, so colorful, cheerful, you know, and she set it up. And I wish there were pictures of her booth because I haven't seen it, but she spoke about it in her last Flosstube and it sounded beautiful. So I wanted to recommend that you guys pop over to her website. And the reason why I say this is because Krista West, she's amazing. You know, when you watch her Flosstube, she just has this aura about her where she is so enthusiastic and just has that love of traditional craft and design. You know, the colors are amazing. And a lot of the stuff she sells as kits, and the kits are very affordable, especially compared to a lot of, you know, the cross stitch we're kitting up is just crazy expensive. And I find these kits to be quite a reasonable price. But a couple things I want to say is that when she went to H&H Americas, she realized, she had a couple aha moments of, you know, just being there, being immersed in all these people that have the love of handicrafts. Was really inspiring, and just, you know, starting off the show thinking, what is she doing there, to at the end of the show leaving with a really full heart, realizing there is so much interest in, you know, handicrafts, picking it up, continuing those crafts, those techniques, learning from, you know, what are traditional crafts and how can we continue that. You know, folk embroidery too, for her, is all about functionality, having something that's useful. So not only is it beautiful and you've created it and you've made it with your hands, but there is a purpose, there is a use for it. And she's seeing this influx of, you know, young people coming and wanting to stitch something, but something with a purpose. And so, you know, her pieces fit that bill, right? She does a lot of collaboration work too. She's collaborated recently with Folkware, which is really cool. Highly recommend checking it out. So I want to share with you, if you've been around a while, you've seen this, but I ordered this really, really beautiful kit from her last year, and I have not started it yet. And I'm going to start it in the next 2 weeks here. Now, I wanted to open this with you just so you could see what was actually included in one of her kits. This kit, I think, was like, I want to say $45. Like, it wasn't a lot, and it comes beautifully packaged, and I'll show you what's in that. Let's flip over and take a look. All right, so I saved you guys the annoyance of listening to all the beautiful vellum packaging being opened, but inside the big pink paper bag, you receive this vellum envelope with everything in it. Now, in this envelope, so I have to admit, I also ordered this beautiful needle minder because, you know, the kit was so affordable that I thought I can definitely throw one of those in. I mean, all in all, this whole package was like $60, and it's everything I need. So, I just want to point out, in all of her kits, so you don't get the needle minder, but you get everything else. So in her kit, she includes a John James needle. She includes a little love gift, a little extra pattern for you that you can add to any of your stitching. And yeah, I mean, that's good just to, you know, put in your stitch bank, right? There's a little notice here because she does participate in some community stuff. She prides herself in teaching and that community connection. I spoke to this previously when I first received this package. I was so impressed. She participates in collecting materials for Help Heal Veterans. And so it's all about, you know, veterans healing from PTSD and just all the trauma. And a good way to heal, and we know that stitching is so therapeutic, is through stitching. And so she helps to supply that. So this just encourages you, if you've got anything in your supply you're not using, to pass it on to people that could really make use of that and appreciate it. In the kit here too, all of this is stitched on traditional ground cloth, and it is a 26 count. So if you're ever worried about, I mean, you can stitch this on anything you want, but if you wanted to order one of her kits and you think, oh, I need a higher count, just know that generally speaking, all the count in her kit are 26 count, and it comes fully serged as well. So that's awesome to have. So you can dive right in and start your project. This pattern here, so this is your main page that you're getting. This is what I've ordered. It's like a small little, I don't actually know, she calls them table runners, but you know, they're smaller, so you could put it under your vase or what have you. And this here does come with just general stitching instructions as well, and thinking about, you know, your care and different ways to finish it. Do you wash it? All the things she uses are color fast as well, which is great. And then you get all the DMC floss that's needed for it also. So, you know, I just wanted to point out, if you guys are looking for a project, maybe you want something new, something fun, you know, this is an affordable one to order, and it's supporting a wonderful designer. She is a cross stitcher. This is all cross stitch here. There's no specialty stitches. There's multiple different ways to finish her pieces. There are ones that are in, like, the appearance is in keeping with like a fabric panel that you could frame to functional pieces as well. So lots of options. I know that if you're from Canada and you're looking for a Canadian supplier, I know that Carolyn at Evertote, she has 3 of these kits on clearance right now. And I think it's like $13 to $28, no, not even $24 Canadian. Like, you can't get a better deal. So highly recommend checking out Avlea Cross Stitch Design. She is a US designer. She has great community connection. Highly, highly recommend her. The final cross stitch floss tube I've been watching I want to talk about is Jean Farish Needlework. Now, I don't know if you guys follow Jean Farish. She hasn't posted a lot in the last year, but she's recently uploaded a new video. And she's great because she's a designer, she's a teacher. You know, she used to be a school teacher. She's so great. Every time you watch one of her videos, she incorporates something new, some sort of new skill you didn't know. Really, really recommend her videos for sure. And there's lots you can go back and watch. Now, she's uploaded a new video this year, and she talked a lot about goals and cross-stitching, setting goals for herself within her passion, within her cross-stitch. And she talked about, you know, again, very similar to what Krista West was speaking to, of needing that connection with community. And I'm just seeing this pattern show up, right? Of, you know, post-pandemic, I think at the start of the pandemic, a lot of people were really looking for that connection because everyone was so isolated, right? And then now we're seeing this resurgence of crafting as a form of connection and feeling good and just, you know, meditation and kind of, I feel like a lot of people are looking to get back to traditional crafts, back to being grounded just in life, right? So they're looking for that connection to heritage and to, you know, life from 100 years ago, right? Because I think everything today is just so busy, go, 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 go. And so I highly recommend cross stitch. And I'm trying to think of ways that I can incorporate that. And I'm thinking about, maybe teaching some classes in my community, or what I can do to incorporate that, and whether or not that's something I can also incorporate online for you guys as well. yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking. So if you guys have ideas of ways that stitchers can connect together and you want to share that, please share it. In saying all this and saying, you know, people are looking for traditional crafts and different ways to, you know, participate in handicrafts in seeking that connection, I did come across something on Instagram called Heritage Crafts. So if you're on Insta and you don't follow them, go follow Heritage Crafts. And I came across something called the Red List of Endangered Crafts. And I was like, what is that? And so there, I opened it up. You know, I have to go through a few links, right? But every year there's this red list of endangered crafts that comes out, and a new one added to the endangered crafts, meaning there's less than five masters or teachers of that craft in the world. Is it world or just UK? I can't remember, but it's a small amount. Then it actually moves from, you know, being one of the crafts that are not very popular to actually an endangered craft. And one of those this year is quilting in a frame with the rocking stitch. And I thought, don't people do that all the time? Like, I quilt and my grandma taught me to hand quilt, and I don't know the difference between that. You know, they showed the picture of the community with the big floor frame, and, you know, there's like 12 ladies stitching, and they're all stitching the top of the quilt together, or they're hand quilting the layers of the quilt together. And so I don't know a lot about it, but the whole point of me sharing it with you guys is that I thought it was really neat to pull that up and have a look at all the crafts that are considered in danger, becoming endangered, as well as ones that are endangered. And is there a way that we can help to preserve any of those crafts? And so, you know, that led me into the whole Krista West thing with Avlea folk embroidery, because she does a lot of folk embroidery, right? I mean, a lot of this stuff is from Greece. There's not very many people that design it, preserve it. You know, she's kind of becoming a member in this elite group of people, right? And so I just, you know, as a stitcher and a multi-crafter, I feel like we have this sense of duty to teach other people this so that, you know, we don't lose this craft, right, in the world of mass consumerism and stuff. So anyways, Jean Farish, go check her out as well. She is a great teacher. You'll learn stuff from her. A lot of, like, if you watch those last two Flosstubes, the Krista West and the Jean Farish, kind of thought-provoking in terms of what are we doing with our cross stitch, and you know, can we, I don't know, can we somehow preserve what we're doing for future generations? So then it got me onto quilting. So that's it for my cross stitch. I have two other quick things I wanted to share. I have a summer project for quilting. I wanted to share a pattern I bought in 2006, as well as my Go Dynamo Shawl. So if you're here only for cross stitch, thanks for making it this far. I'll see you again in a couple weeks. And if you are wanting to stick around for another 5 minutes, I will show you my, where is it? Here it is, my quilt project. So this is something, Lori Smith is the designer of this quilt pattern, and it is Ode to the 1930s, and it's a sampler quilt. And I am so excited to start this. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, at the time there was a quilting store right across the street from my home. And I signed up for a lesson, and I took my sewing machine and I'd walk across the street and I learned to stitch, and I did a small 9x9 little like sampler quilt, which I actually ended up using in her crib. And then my next project was a full queen size quilt on point, which I made while she was an infant, and I made it up for her, and I still have it. And this is a pattern that I picked up because I thought it was just so stunning, but I've never stitched it. So my plan over the next couple months is to really dive into this. And the whole theory behind the 1930 quilts, they were scrappy quilts, right? People, they quilted with what they had, what they could find. And so I had gone ahead, opened up the package. You know, there's quilt blocks, everything ranging from 3x3 to 12x12. There is applique on there as well, a little bit of everything. And so I'm going to go through my stash, see what I have, and I'm thinking I might kind of supplement with some Liberty and maybe Lori Holt. I haven't fully decided, but I'm not going to go the route of French General. Like, I like the look of the really bright colors, so I think Lori Holt is probably a better designer for that, especially because a lot of her stuff is kind of in keeping with the you know, the small floral print and the checker print and the stripes. And I think she fits the bill of what's needed for this sort of project. And then I'm not sure what I'll use for the sides here. I don't know if I'll do, I don't know, maybe just something plain even, I'm not sure. Anyways, so that's my project. I'm going to work on it this summer. And the coolest part about this project is I want to quilt this with other people. So each block in here, I want to quilt one or maybe a couple blocks with someone who has been important in my life, and you know, whether that is an inspiration to me from crafting, cross stitch, teaching me to knit, teaching me to quilt, teaching me to sew. So, you know, when I think about this, family for sure, right? My mom, my cousins, my aunts, definitely sewing blocks with everybody. My sister who's not crafty, maybe I can talk her into one. And then I have another sister who doesn't live close by, but I think maybe it'd be great if we could even get together and craft one as well. So at the end of the day, it would mean a lot to have this. So not just family, but also really close friends as well that are crafters. So it could be a lot of fun. Anyways, I'm excited for that. Now, the last project I want to share is my Go Dynamo Shawl. I am almost done. I am so excited. I have put like 20,000 stitches into this thing in the last 2 weeks, and I don't even know how. I'm going to show it to you guys because it's getting so big. Let me just unwind a little bit of my yarn. I had a laugh last night because I was on Instagram, and Manvir, Mama Bear Stitcher, she says, I don't know what I was thinking. It'd be a relaxing activity to wind a ball of yarn by hand before bed. And I thought to myself, yeah, but it looks so beautiful. And that's what I've been doing lately too. So my girlfriend and I, we co-own, you know, a Swift and a, what do you call that? You know, the thing to wind up your yarn to make the cake balls. And it's currently at her house. And so everything I've done on the shawl, I've woven, or I've put into balls by hand. And I've actually really enjoyed the process until I did this last ball. I was like, I'm over it. I'm done. I need the Swift for the next bit. Anyways, so this is where I'm at. This project is too big to share. So I'm going to insert some photos too, but I've been working on this like edging. So this is the final edge. And technically in the pattern, this edge here, it's optional. And I've decided to go ahead that I do want to stitch that. But not only do I want to stitch, so it's just 3 rows and then the I-cord edge. You can do more if you want. And I'm going to do more because, oh my God, you guys. Okay, can you see down here? I don't know if you can even see that. I've got, okay, you can see these colors, the dark blue, the turquoise, this is a really pale green, it looks white, and then there's like a light pink, a darker pink, and a yellow. I'm gonna do those gradients in the border. So you can see, oh God, I don't have stoppers on the end of these and I just dropped it. Okay, so you can see so far I've done the dark blue, the turquoise, the light green, and the light pink. So I only have the dark pink and the yellow to go, and then I'll be done. But you guys, this is so much work, like literally 20,000 stitches, because each row right now is over 6 I'm almost at 700 stitches per row. You can kind of see here. And then there's like these holes. Can you see that? There you go. And so it's going to create this wavy border. And it's fun, but like if you have to purl like 700 stitches, it takes a hot minute to do that row. It's been a ton of time. And the knitting rows are much appreciated because they're very, very quick compared to the purl row, or this, you stitch this like holy row every 8 rows. So there's a lot of hours still left in here. And hopefully if I am being optimistic, in the next 2 weeks I might be able to finish this, but it's huge. Like this is a really big shawl. This is maybe a third of it. You can see that semicircle there. It's really, really beautiful. Anyways, I'm gonna go. I may put some photos in here too or not. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna go to a knit store today because I am out of this yellow. This is the danger of making a scrappy project, right? I'm out of the yellow, and it's Tennis Fiber Arts. I've gone to her website. She doesn't have anything remotely similar to the yellow right now. And so I'm now on the hunt for something that's gonna look a bit like that. So I've got a couple stores I can hit up today and I'll see what I can find. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today, you guys. I feel like I'm a little bit all over the map, as always. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to start the Avlea project, and I'm going to log a few more of the Mania 500. So, thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and yeah, I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye for now.